Imagine taking, basically everything modern society tells you about success, building a massive network, optimizing your LinkedIn profile, monetizing every single one of your hobbies.
Right, the whole hustle culture thing.
Exactly. Imagine taking all of that and just throwing it directly into the garbage. Like literally calling it 95% rubbish.
Pretty bold claim.
It really is. And that's exactly the premise we are looking at today. We are doing a deep dive into this really fascinating essay from October 2020. It's titled Suifeng Chats with Young People. And I gotta say, it completely dismantles the modern metric of what a successful life actually looks like.
It really does. I mean, it's a radical departure from the status quo.
Hmm.
This isn't, your typical self-help post from some 20-something life coach on Instagram.
Yeah, definitely not.
No, it's this distillation of insights from someone with over 60 years of life experience, 60 years of just observing the human condition. And he offers his conclusions, quite humbly actually, as, quote, just for reference.
Just for reference, I love that.
Yeah, but to really grasp what he's doing here, we kind of have to start with his core philosophical baseline. Because he argues that human existence is, well, it's simply a vessel for perception and experience.
Okay, a vessel.
Right. That is its only true function. You aren't here to accumulate things. You are here to accumulate understanding.
So right out of the gate, he's basically redefining what it means to be wealthy. And it is a total, complete rejection of materialism.
Absolutely.
He explicitly warns young people against pursuing what, society traditionally calls wealth. So real estate, cars, high-end consumer goods.
The flashy stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He argues that focusing your gaze on material abundance doesn't actually build a life. It actively pushes you toward decadence and corruption. He even calls it a metaphorical death of the soul.
Which is heavy. But he says true wealth is strictly the accumulation of experiences.
And this is where it gets really interesting to me. Looking closely at his list of what counts as a valuable experience, it's not just the highlight reel,
No, not at all.
Like, we usually think of experiencing life as, I don't know, backpacking through Europe or falling in love. But Xufeng explicitly lists frustration, disappointment, failure, and despair right alongside love and the four seasons and the cycles of cause and effect.
Yeah, he doesn't sugarcoat it.
I mean, I have to push back a little here just for my own sake. I don't actively want my heart broken. Why on earth is he instructing young people to, seek out despair?
Well, it's because you can't cherry pick only the pleasant parts of human existence and expect to gain any sort of deep perception.
Right.
Xufeng is arguing for this holistic embrace of reality. If your life is only comfort and joy, your perception remains incredibly shallow. I mean, think about the mechanics of it.
Okay.
When you experience despair or, profound failure, your brain is forced to process complex, really difficult emotions. You have to navigate the actual friction of reality.
Friction, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that friction is exactly what carves out the depth of your character.
Mm-hmm.
You can't truly understand the wit and fun of life, as he calls it, without that contrasting baseline of hardship.
So a life meticulously engineered to avoid all pain is?
In his view, it's a life mostly wasted.
Wow. Okay. That makes sense conceptually, I guess. But practically, what are we supposed to be doing with our time if we aren't chasing the next promotion or, the next dopamine hit?
He lays out a very specific internal curriculum. He says your time should be spent learning scientific knowledge, learning the fundamental mechanics of how to just behave as a decent human being, and studying the teachings of sages, gods, and Buddhas.
Basically elevating the internal mechanics of your mind.
Precisely.
But here is where I kind of tripped up while reading, because there is this massive paradox in his instructions.
Oh yeah, the groups thing.
Yes. He says to study the teachings of gods, Buddhas, and celestials. But in the very same breath, he strictly warns you against joining any religious groups, political groups, or cultivation groups.
Right, he's very firm on that.
He explicitly bans learning anything about magical powers, special abilities, or spells. He even warns against the premature study of Buddhism and Taoism. It's like, I don't know, it's like downloading the open source code to build your own powerful software, but absolutely refusing to sign a contract to work for the tech company that originally wrote it.
That is the exact dynamic he's aiming for.
Yeah.
And just to clarify for everyone listening who might not be familiar with the term, when he mentions avoiding cultivation groups, he means those esoteric, sometimes monastic groups focused on spiritual alchemy, or esoteric martial arts.
Or trying to attain special metaphysical powers, right?
Exactly. He wants you to extract the raw wisdom from these traditions without becoming entangled in the dogma or the hierarchy or, frankly, the ego of the institution.
But why the strict ban on joining up? I mean, if you're studying a philosophy, wouldn't a community of like-minded people help you?
Well, because the moment you join an organization, your motivations almost inevitably shift outward.
Oh,
Think about it. Why do most people join these groups? To gain status? Maybe to find a supernatural shortcut to their problems? Or to become some powerful official and make money to glorify their ancestors?
which is a really heavy traditional pressure in a lot of
It's
cultures.
huge pressure. But Zhuofeng argues that learning must be purely for enriching your internal life quality. The moment you externalize your power to a group or a guru, you've stopped experiencing life for yourself, and you've started performing it for someone else.
Performing it, that's a great way to put it. But if you're pulling all this wisdom inward and you're actively avoiding all the external communities and traditional milestones that usually, validate that wisdom,
Mm.
how do you even know you're growing?
Right, how do you measure it?
Yeah. How do you measure your progress?
This is where we get into the central metaphor of his entire philosophy. It's the stone analogy.
Ah, yes. The stones.
Zhuofeng argues that human beings are fundamentally like stones. We range in internal quality from diamonds, rubies, and emeralds all the way down the spectrum to rough pebbles and cobblestones.
I frame this in my head like an RPG video game.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, because in a lot of games, you can either spend your gold buying really flashy, glowing armor to look super intimidating to other players, or you can spend that gold permanently upgrading your character's base stats. Your actual underlying strength and intelligence.
The stuff that actually matters in a fight.
Exactly. And Shifeng is basically saying, stop buying the flashy armor, the material goods, the job titles, the networking connections. That is all just external armor. It literally means nothing if the character underneath is weak.
That's a perfect analogy.
He wants you to level up your base stats. You might not start out life as a diamond, but your entire mission is to make sure you do not end up as a pebble.
And the stakes of this hierarchy are actually profound. He points out the literal reality of how we treat stones in our physical world.
Right.
The most precious stones, the diamonds and rubies, where are they? They are embedded in the most sacred, protected, and revered places. They are cherished. But the rough cobblestones, they are literally laid out under people's feet to be walked on, crushed, and completely ignored.
That is just a brutally vivid image. If you don't cultivate your internal value, society will just pave a road with you.
Precisely. And he takes this a step further into the cosmic realm, too. He suggests that the purer your quality of life the more gemstone-like your internal character is, the more you will eventually inhabit a free and perfect world.
Okay. And the flip side.
Conversely, if you allow your life quality to remain low, like a pebble, you will find yourself trapped in a dilapidated, controlled world.
Now, I have to ask about the mechanics of that. Is he talking about reincarnation here, or is this something happening right now in our current lives?
It actually functions on both levels, even if we look at it purely psychologically in this lifetime. I mean, think about how perception dictates reality. If your internal state is highly cultivated, if you possess deep emotional regulation, wisdom, and a broad understanding of cause and effect, you naturally navigate away from chaos. You perceive opportunities for freedom and peace that a less cultivated mind simply cannot see.
Because they're too busy reacting.
Exactly. A pebble mindset is driven by base impulses, ego, and reactivity. It actively creates and attracts a dilapidated, highly restricted reality because it constantly collides blindly with the world.
Wow. Okay, so let's say you are putting in the work. You are studying the sciences, you're embracing your failures to build character, avoiding the material traps, and you are actively leveling up your base stats to become a ruby or a diamond.
You're doing everything right.
Right. In today's world, the immediate next step would be to leverage that growth. You go to a networking mixer, or you start posting thought leadership threads online to show off your new sparkle.
Yeah, you got to monetize the sparkle.
Exactly, but Shufeng says absolutely not.
He is radically opposed to modern networking. He looks at the ROI, the return on investment of relationships, through a lens of just extreme pragmatism.
It's almost shocking how pragmatic he is about it.
It really is. He says maintaining forced professional or social relationships has a massive cost in time, energy, and wealth. And he argues it is fundamentally a bad investment because, as he bluntly puts it, as long as they are people, they will all eventually part ways with you.
Wait, I mean, that sounds incredibly bleak. And isolating. Is he seriously advocating for total social isolation just because friendships eventually run their course or people move away?
Not isolation, no, but organic connection rather than forced utility. He is targeting that anxiety-driven networking where you are constantly trying to maintain ties just in case they benefit you later.
The let's grab a coffee just to keep the connection warm kind of thing.
Yes, trying to artificially freeze a human relationship in time creates immense suffering and wastes so much energy. And this is where he brings it right back to the stone analogy.
Oh, how so?
Well, if you truly are a precious gemstone, you do not need to rack your brains networking. You don't need to hand out business cards or force coffee chats. People will naturally be drawn to you because your intrinsic value is self-evident.
That makes a lot of sense.
But if you are a cobblestone on the inside, no amount of forced networking will stop people from eventually abandoning you once they realize there's actually no depth there.
So true confidants are a byproduct of your journey, not something you can just hunt down and collect.
Exactly. They appear on your path as you strive forward. If you spend your time chasing people, you aren't walking your own path.
Right.
And if we look at the modern digital era, Sufeng uses one highly specific word to define our society. Impetuous. The people are impetuous, the markets, the religions, the communities. Everything is a fragile bubble ready to burst because it lacks a solid internal foundation.
Impetuous, acting quickly and without thought. I mean, it's the perfect description of the modern doom scroll.
It really is.
Which leads to one of the most striking claims in the entire text. And for everyone listening, I want you to think about your own feed right now. Think about the platforms you check every day. Xu claims that 95% of the internet and social media is absolute rubbish.
95%.
95%. If most of what you're scrolling through is driven by panic, ego, or someone else's impetuous reaction to the news, what is that actually doing to your brain's baseline?
It's degrading it.
Yeah. Xu lays out this undeniable logic. If you spend your precious time and energy consuming that 95%, you are actively collecting garbage. And if you spend your life dealing with garbage, eventually your internal state transforms into a garbage collector.
It is a profound warning about the literal rewiring of your perception.
Yeah.
You become the information you consume.
You really do.
If your mental diet consists of impetuous, shallow, reactionary bubbles on social media, you are internalizing that chaos. Your neural pathways adapt to that shallow frequency. You are making your internal stone more porous, more brittle.
So you're default?
Yes, you are actively moving backward toward being a pebble because you are letting external noise overwrite your internal cultivation.
Okay, so if the internet is mostly a bubble of garbage, and forced networking is a massive drain on our energy, and chasing material goods just leads to corruption, what is the actual solid foundation we should be building our lives on? Like, how do we construct a day-to-day existence that aligns with this?
Whiffing outlines a very clear three-tiered hierarchy of wealth to guide your daily focus.
Okay, what are the tiers?
The ultimate priority, the absolute peak, is soul wealth. Below that is spiritual wealth. And at the very bottom, the lowest priority for a human being is material wealth.
Wait, what is the actual difference between soul wealth and spiritual wealth here? Because those terms usually get thrown around interchangeably in a lot of self-help circles.
They do, but he makes a distinct mechanical separation. Think of spiritual wealth as the tools and the content of your mind. So your knowledge of the sciences, your understanding of art, your emotional richness, your intellect, it's the framework you use to engage with the world.
Okay, got it. And soul wealth?
Soul wealth, however, is your fundamental essence. It is the unshakable tranquility, the alignment with ultimate truth, the deep peace that remains even when all knowledge and thought are stripped away.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, spiritual wealth helps you navigate the world, but soul wealth determines what kind of world you ultimately inhabit. And material wealth is simply the physical fuel required to keep the vessel alive while you cultivate the other two.
But there is a brilliant loophole he provides regarding material wealth that I found incredibly practical, because it's really easy to say, ignore the material world. But we still have bodies.
We do still have to live here.
Right. Joy Feng says you don't need a mansion, you don't need a massive investment portfolio, you just need health. Health, he declares, is the first material wealth. Therefore, taking care of your physical body is literally the foundational form of wealth building.
I love that reframing. It takes health out of the category of a daily chore and places it firmly into the category of asset management. And he's very strict about the mechanics of this, too. He instructs you to not stay up late, to not smoke, to absolutely avoid drugs, to eat in an orderly manner, and to not overeat just to satisfy your appetite.
It's all about maintaining the vessel.
Exactly. Maintaining the integrity of your physical vessel is the baseline requirement for experiencing the world deeply. Because if your body is in constant avoidable distress because of poor choices, your perception is entirely hijacked by physical discomfort. You literally cannot cultivate soul wealth if you are constantly fighting the consequences of abusing your material vessel.
That makes total sense. Okay, so we are fiercely guarding our physical health, we are avoiding the garbage of the internet, and we are focusing on internal stats. But what about our duties to the people who brought us into this world? We established we shouldn't force professional networking, but what about our families?
This brings us to what Su Feng considers the absolute first priority of human behavior in the external world, which is honoring your parents. But keeping in line with the rest of his philosophy, his version of filial piety strips away a massive amount of traditional guilt. He states very clearly that it does not matter how your parents treated you.
Really?
Yes, he says that is their business, their karma, and their level of cultivation. Your job as their child is incredibly simple. Do not let them worry about you,
Huh?
and do not let them rush about and overwork on your behalf.
And he delivers this remarkably blunt line to drive this home. He says, "You are a human, not a pig." Meaning, you are not livestock meant to be fed and housed indefinitely by your caretakers.
It's a harsh way to put it, but it's clear.
Yeah, he draws a hard, non-negotiable line at age 18. He says your parents' job was to raise you to adulthood. After 18, you must walk your own path. You absolutely cannot rely on your parents for survival anymore.
Radical self-responsibility.
Exactly. But I have to stop here and look at the modern context. Because in today's economy, being totally financially independent at 18 feels almost impossible for a lot of people. How does this philosophy hold up when, a one-bedroom apartment costs half your salary and entry-level jobs require a master's degree?
It is an incredibly demanding standard, for sure. But it stems from his philosophy of, like we said, radical self-responsibility.
Yeah.
It's less about having a terrific financial portfolio at 18 and more about the trajectory of your intent.
The trajectory, okay.
Right. The core offense in his eyes is complacency. It's allowing your parents to continue carrying the heavy burden of your existence when you are physically and mentally capable of struggling forward on your own. It's about not leaning on them.
I see.
And this actually addresses a very common modern anxiety, where young people feel immense, crushing guilt if they cannot eventually buy their parents a house or support them lavishly in their old age as a form of repayment.
Oh, for sure. The societal pressure to generate enough material wealth to give back and basically prove you are a good investment.
Exactly. And Shui Feng offers a deeply comforting counter-narrative here. He argues that even if you cannot afford to financially support your parents in their old age, simply relieving them of the burden of having to support you is enough.
That is a huge
If
relief.
you can just stand on your own 2 feet, face the friction of the world, and maintain your own survival, you have fulfilled the baseline requirement. You won't have excessive guilt in your heart, and, as he puts it, in the eyes of heaven, you will be considered a reasonable, blessed person.
That shifts the entire dynamic. Just by being independent, just by removing yourself as a drain on their energy, you are succeeding at your primary human duty to them. You don't have to be a millionaire to be a good son or daughter. You just have to take ownership of your own existence.
Yep. By refusing to lean on your parents, refusing to lean on superficial networks, and refusing to lean on material status symbols, you are forced to forge your own structural integrity.
You have no external scaffolding left.
None. You're forced to become a gemstone under the pressure of your own self-reliance.
Wow. So if we synthesize everything we've unpacked from this text today, Xu Feng's philosophy is really a call to radically internalize your focus. It's almost like permission to step entirely off the modern treadmill.
It really is.
You can actively reject the impetuous, anxiety-inducing noise of the internet. You can skip the superficial networking events that drain your time and offer nothing real. You can drop out of the material rat race that equates your value with your possessions.
Let it all go.
Yeah. Instead, your mission is to embrace the full, messy, friction-filled spectrum of human experience. Let the despair and the joy carve out your perception. Protect your physical health as your most critical material asset. Be fiercely and unapologetically independent, and basically spend your time quietly leveling up your base stats.
And for those who find this framework resonating, who feel a sense of relief in stripping away all those external expectations, Xu Feng actually mentions in the essay that he has compiled a text called Treasures of Classical Advice.
Oh, that's right.
He describes it as gathering the essence of human sages' wisdom and experiences. It is meant to be read quietly when you have free time, basically serving as the actual high-quality material you should be consuming instead of the 95% rubbish online.
It sounds like the perfect foundational text to replace a doom-scrolling habit, honestly.
Definitely.
Well, we're going to leave you with a final lingering question to ponder on your own today. Something that builds on everything we've just discussed about the raw stone, the impetuous bubbles of society, and the organic appearance of true friends.
Let's hear it.
Think about this. If 95% of our modern connections are just impetuous bubbles and true confidants only meet us while we are actively forging our own unique path, is the ultimate secret to finding your true community actually embracing complete, unapologetic independence first?
It is a challenging paradox to sit with.
Yeah.
You have to be fully willing to walk alone in order to discover who is truly walking in the exact same direction.
Stop worrying about the flashy external armor and start focusing on the character underneath. From both of us here, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep polishing that stone, and we will catch you next time.